Good morning. We're learning a mimer in Parshas Nitzvovim, Likuti Torah, Parshas Nitzvovim, mimer from the Alter Rebbe. This mimer is called Koartz and is associated with the Haftarah of this week. Haftarah called Sois Tosis. So in this mimer, we'll discuss the meaning, the point of mentioning Hamelech HaKodesh in the 10 days of Tshuva, that we say Hamelech HaKodesh instead of Akel HaKodesh. We'll discuss the purpose of the neshama descending into this world to be elevated from a level of Kodesh to a level of Kodesh, and through the fulfillment of mitzvahs. And even if there is a deficiency in Torah and mitzvahs, we need to tap into Hamelech HaKodesh, and from there we can draw down a tikkun, a correction, refinement to all the blemishes. So the mimer would start with the Haftarah, as I mentioned before, Ki Koartz tzimcha, as the land bring out its growth, v'chegano zeru'eos hatzmiach, and as the garden brings out his growth, his tzmachim, its vegetations. Similarly, Havaya Elokim will bring Yatzmiach Tzedakah Teila, will bring Tzedakah and Tehillah. Tehillah is also praise. So this is really, the rabbis are telling us that the prophets were speaking about the reward of mitzvahs that is anticipated for the Jewish people in the time of Mashiach. And in the time of Mashiach, the eating of the fruits of the mitzvah, so to speak, the response, the reward for the mitzvahs will be in this world. The spiritual reward, it says, yet ein lo yirah, so no eye was able to see that type of reward. So the Nevi'im, the prophets, are not speaking about the spiritual reward. But this sachar, this reward, will be revealed in the Tchias HaMesim, in the time of the resurrection. So we'll go back to the start of the Maimon. Ki Koartz tzimcha chaganoz u'es hasmiach kein havaya Elokim yatzmiach tzedakah u'seila. Ad ne'havaya yatzmiach tzedakah u'seila. So as I said before, the same way that the land would bring out its fruit, the garden would bring out, the seeds of a garden will grow. Similarly, Hashem Elokim will bring tzedakah u'teila. Justice will grow, charity, chesed, teila, praise. In Kol HaNevi'im, all the prophets, all the Nevi'im were prophesying about the physical reward. The time of Mashiach, but regarding the spiritual reward, mitzvah that every mitzvah has, mitzad atma, by its nature, by itself, every mitzvah has the spiritual reward. Mitzvah, the reward of the mitzvah is the mitzvah itself, as it says in Pirkei Avos Perek Daled. Al zenemar ein lo yirah. Regarding that, it says no eye was able to see, v'lo yidibru hanevim b'zeh klal, and no prophets. The prophets were not discussing it whatsoever. This is the Gemara in Brachos Lamed Daled. The Gemara over there says that the Nevi'im were not discussing the physical, the spiritual reward. And it says in the Gemara in Brachos, actually, it says that the Nevi'im were prophesying only about the Mashiach, the days of Mashiach, but they were not discussing Olam Haba, the world to come, which is a distinction between the two. It says regarding Olam Habo Leiroso Elokim Zulosecho. It was not revealed to any prophet how the Olam Habo is what would be the Olam Habo. So we have Sochor Gashmi. So far we learned about two things. We have Sochor Gashmi, physical reward, where the Mishnah says, and we said in the morning, every morning, Mishnah in Peah, Odom Eichel Perisem Ba'olam Hazeh, that you eat its fruits in this world, in this time. And that was the meaning of the prophecy. Nevi'im are speaking about the reward. And you have Ikar Sochor, the primary reward is the spiritual reward. Schar mitzvah mitzvah. The main sachar, the main reward for the mitzvah is the mitzvah itself. Meaning that each mitzvah is the supernal will of Hashem. He's united with it. That's the reason why we do it, because Hashem's will, Hashem's supernal will. And in the time of Mashiach, La'osid Lavei, it will be revealed the mitzvahs themselves. We'll see the rotzim, we'll see the light and the supernal will that is within the mitzvah itself. And regarding that, then the prophets were not prophesying whatsoever. It was not revealed to them, because this is the main or the innermost aspect of the world to come, where it says Ayin lo yiros klal. This is a prophecy of Yeshaya where it says Ayin lo yiros. So with that he concluded the Olam Habo. He says Olam Habo Ayin lo yiros. No, I was able to see. So this will be revealed in the time of Mashiach, in the world to come, at the resurrection of the dead. Nevertheless, now, at our time, there is still revelation from this light to a neshamis begufim, nesham souls in physical bodies. When you do the mitzvah b'foil, when you do the mitzvah in actuality, far mamish. Mitam shemeir benafshem megilu rotzen ha'elim shebekdushim, is because there is a revelation in his nefesh megilu rotzen, from the supernal will of Hashem, of the sanctity of the mitzvah. So this is the interpretation of the Mital Rebbe. Explains over there that you have there's a drawdown of kedusha, supernal kedusha, bestowing upon him avorabo, intense love, great love. This avorabo is because of the root of the reason why he has this. We receive that type of reward, or we call this type of reciprocation or response, because of the root of the mitzvahs above. The supernal will of Hashem. So we find that this revelation is not for the purpose of rewarding. Rather, it's by default. It's part of your avodah, your work, serving Hashem. The supernal will is now being felt in your work. But this Hamshach Mital Rebbe says it's in a way of makif, it's an encompassing way. Now, Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippurim comes to Rosh Hashanah. We are 2 weeks from Rosh Hashanah. Nizgal min ha'elam. So there's a revelation from the concealment. Well, Zenemar in the Haftorah, Kein Havaya Elikim Yatzmiach Tzedakah U'Seila. Hashem is going to bring forth tzedakah and tehillah and praise. Which means this supernal will is being revealed from its concealment every year in Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. And that's why we say in the Haftarah of this week of Parshas Nitzvovim Vayelech, it's always read Shabbos before Rosh Hashanah. Kein Havaya Elikim Yatzmiach Tzedakah U'Tehillah Neged Kol Hagoyim. That Hashem would bring tzedakah tehillah, between charity and or justice, praise, neged kol hagoyim, in front of all the nations. Lov in biur inyan zeh, in order to understand the above, Ine ba'aseresim v'tshuva hamelech hakodesh. We say in aseresim days of tshuva, we say hamelech hakodesh. Instead of hakel hakodesh, the holy king, hamelech hakodesh. Chiron is a tam said in Shemoneh Esrei in the silent prayer. Chiron is a tam. Seemingly, there's no reason for this. Vishlon Rosh Hashanah says, I understand Rosh Hashanah. It's hamelech hakodesh. Because Amelech Yeshua Kisedin v'Chisirachim, the king is sitting on a throne of justice, on a throne of mercy. So we say Amelech HaKodesh. Aval ba'aseres mitzvah she'achar Rosh Hashanah, but the 10 days of tshuva that after Rosh Hashanah, me'ezeh tamim Amelech HaKodesh. Why do we say Amelech HaKodesh, Amelech HaMishpach? The holy king, the king of justice. We already passed Rosh Hashanah. Why do we say it for 10 days after Rosh Hashanah? Gama Inyan HaMelech, or 8 days, the first 2 days of Rosh Hashanah, and then you have 8 days until Yom Kippur. Gama Inyan HaMelech Etzel HaKodesh. Kedusha Inyan B'fnei Atzmo, Melucha B'fnei Atzmo. But what's the connection between the two also? Not only the timing is off, seemingly off, but also what's the connection between the two? HaMelech is one concept, and HaKodesh is another concept. Usually you say the Heilige Rav, the Heilige Tzaddik, right? The Holy Tzaddik. But the Holy King, Holy and King usually don't come together. Ma'inyan HaMelech etzel HaKodesh. Seemingly the two opposites. Melucha is meaning that the king is going out of himself to his constituents, to his subjects. Kedusha shows exultance, something that is separated, something that is aloof. So HaMelech is some king over the nations. He goes out to the nations. So what's the connection between the two? Goes back to we need to understand what's the purpose of the neshamas coming down to this world. We have to preface with this interpretation why the neshamas came down to the world. We said it's a descent for the ascent. So how do we get the ascent? Through doing mitzvahs. Through doing mitzvahs in this world, they'll be elevated to a higher level, more than they were before. And that's why he said, Asher Kiddishanu v'mitzvah. Hashem sanctified us with his mitzvahs. So to understand this elevation through mitzvahs, and where the neshamas was situated before coming down, and where they are ascending to after coming down to this world, after the journey. It's known that Neshamas Yisrael, it's written by Bereshis Rabbah, that Neshamas Yisrael came up in thought. Pirush, Ki HaMalochim nimshuchu m'chinas dibur elyon, the angels were drawn down from the level of supernal speech. It's written in Tehillim Lamed Gimel, 33, capital 33 in Tehillim, V'ruach piv kol tzevom. All their battalions, all their armies were created through Ruach Piv, the utterance of God, the breath of God. Dibur elyon, supernal speech. Aval neshamis, so that's the angels. On the other hand, neshamis, nimshuchu m'china elyon yosel, they were drawn down from a higher level. Dainu m'chinas machshava elo, from supernal thought. So angels are coming from speech, and neshamis were created from thought. So all created beings were created. All buim, all creation was from dibu, was created from speech. But neshamas Yisrael, it says olu b'machshava, they came up in thought. Machshava, thought, is higher than speech. And what's the difference between the two? If neshamas is created from speech or from thought, and the angels from speech, the rest of creation from speech, What's the difference? So where's speech coming from? Speech comes from hevel alev, from the breath of the heart. Meaning you exhaling air, the air goes through the pipe, the air pipe, and so the voice comes from the physical body. That's why people that have a weak heart and can't really speak much, they're not feeling well. So the voice comes from the physical body. And eventually, once you speak, it comes out, and then it becomes becomes air. Nifrad ma'atzmi yisodom becomes separated from your essence, right? On the other hand, thought that is united with your intellect. So there's expansion and dissemination of intellect, but not physical dissemination. So it does not become separated from your essence. Moreover, it becomes one with its essence. Because the speech comes out and is drawn to your friend, and not the machshava. So usually what is being transmitted is the dibu, not the machshava. So the speech of man, as we said before, comes from the heart, the breath of the heart, which is comprised of the 4 elements. And it has to go through the 5 ways of articulation. So the breath from the heart and the sound that comes through this hevel, through this breath, they're not the nefesh itself, they're not the neshama itself. What is it? It's the physical body. So the point is that we find that the hevel, the breath, is not the essence of the soul. It's something that is separated from the person himself. And ultimately comes outside to the world, where people can hear it, but then it separates from the speaker. On the other hand, machshava is not created from the body. Rather, it's a dissemination of intellect, expansion of intellect. So we find the machshava is not thought, it's not shayach, it's not even connected to being closed to the enclosement of soul in body. Rather, it's the soul itself. That's why it's never separated from a person. This is just for us to get an idea about the difference between angels and neshamis, the greatness of the neshamis over angels and other created beings. All were created, as the Mishnah in Ovis says, we're all created through Asor Mamois, the 10 utterances. So this is written in the Zohar, where it says in the Torah, and a bird will fly, fowl will fly. It's referring to Michal, to the angels. It says over there in the Zohar, ve'oif do Michal. What is a fowl? It's Michal. As it says, Vayoaf Elai echad min asrofim. One of the srofim flew to me. Ya'oifef do Gavriel, chtiv eish Gavriel, asher oisi b'chadam shchila muaf bayoaf. So it says, Oif is referring to Michal, Ve'yoifef is referring to the angel Gabriel. The point is trying to tell us that even angels were created from Asor Mamoris, from the 10 utterances, which is Dibur, speech. Aval Yisrael Machshava Kedishaba Dibur Biud Mamoris. Yisrael, the Neshamis Yisrael, came up in thought before the Dibur came in the 10 Mamoris, in the 10 utterances. Vainu Bereishis Bishvil Shiyisrael Nikru Reishis. What is Bereishis, the beginning? It says it's for the Jewish people that are called Reishis. That's the interpretation of Rashi on Bereishis. What is Bereishis? What is the beginning? It's for the Jewish people that are called Reishis, that are called Reishis Yisrael, to also the beginning of the crop. Why they are called Reishis? Because they came up in thought before anything was created. And the Neshamis Yisrael came up in thought. That's why they were there even before the 6 days of creation. You find the entire creation is for the Jewish people. So what's the difference between summing up the difference between neshamas that were created through thought and all the other created beings that were created through the 10 utterances? So we said the breath of dibur, of speech, is created because the nefesh is enclosed in the physical body. The nefesh, the soul, is enclosed in the vessels of a body. Similarly, even the creation of created beings is from Hashem's light that was enclosed in vessels. But all of that, the Mittel Rebbe tells us that it's chitzonius havelal, it's the external aspect of the heart. Ruach Odom ha'elyon. It's ruach, it's air. What happens, the outcome is that through the vessels, the light comes out in a separated way, v'chinas pirud, and it creates burim nifrodim, creates separated, created beings. Aval neshamas, when we talk about souls that came up in thought, they are one with the essence of godliness, which is above dissemination. The same way that thought is generated from the nefesh itself, similarly with the neshamis. Neshamis she'olu machshava, thought that came, souls that came up in thought, and miyuchodim b'mahus ve'atzim selikus mamish. They are one with the essence of godliness, which is above expansion or dissemination. Kishem sha'machshavim ha'nefesh, the same way that the thought is from the soul itself, the way it is above, with any kind of connection with things that are outside of it. Before they descended into this world, Olu Machshava, the Neshamis all came up in thought. Higher than the angels, after describing the greatness of the Neshamis, the Alter Rebbe is asking a question. As we see now, the Neshamis were generated from such a lofty level, they're coming from such a lofty level, what's the point of descending into this world? What kind of elevation do you need? You're already on top. You're already generated from the thought of God, so what is the purpose of this descent and ultimately elevation, if you're already on such a high level? What the purpose of the descent for the ascent? Where are we trying to get to? Where is the elevation? What type of elevation are we talking about? The neshama is already in machshava. Why it came up in thought, which we said before, it never separates, and so on. It says in Parshas Mishpatim, and this is also in the book of Yirmiyah, Anshe Kedesh Tiuli, you should be holy people to me. And it's Yirmiyah says, Kedesh Yisrael La'avai. The holy of Israel is to Hashem. Regarding the pasuk in Vayikra, it says, Kedoshim Tiyu, the rabbi said in Vayikra Rabbah, Yochel Kamoni, Talmud Lema Ki Kodesh Ani Kedushasi L'Mal Kedushascha. You might think that you can reach my level of Kedusha or exaltance. Comes the rabbis and tell you, Kedushasi L'Mal, my Kedusha is greater than yours. How is it possible to be like me? How can we even think that we can reach the level of Kedusha like Hashem? What's the sakadai? What was the thought, the initial thought to say that we can be like him? You need to tell me, so much so that you need to have a special statement to say Kedushasi l'maylu mikdushas. My Kedusha is greater. Well, would it come to our mind that the sanctity of the Jewish people is like Hashem himself, that he needs to tell us, Ki Kodesh Ani, that Hashem, the Kedusha, is greater than the Kedusha of the Jewish people? Hashem sanctifies us through his mitzvahs, Asher Kiddushonu b'mitzvahs, through his mitzvahs. So we could have come to think that there's nothing higher than this level of Kedusha. That's why he tells us that there is a higher level in Hashem's Kedusha, that is even higher than the holiness that is given to Am Yisrael, to the Jewish people, through mitzvahs. So we are being sanctified with Hashem's mitzvahs, but we should not think that there's nothing higher than that. There is even levels that are higher than that level. So we're going to see, the Alter Rebbe is explaining it now. There's Kodesh without a Vav, and there's Kodesh with a Vav. Kodesh and Kodesh. Okay? Pirush, Kodesh, Umash, Umuvdal, Mibchinas Yishtashu, Soilom, the Machshav, Tvis, Veklat. So this is a statement, Tikkun Ezayah, we say the Pasuk Eliyah, that what is Kodesh? It's something that is a level that is above the creation of the world, the different levels of degradation in the creation of the world, and no thought can grasp Hashem whatsoever. That's Kodesh. What is Kodesh bevav? When you write with a vav, that's already a drawdown that comes to the world. From Kodesh, from the level of Kodesh that we spoke before, that is separated from the worlds, Kodesh is already a level of Kedusha that is drawn down to the world. It's not possible for it to come down to the world, being closed in the world. Why? Because the worlds are unable to handle this level. The holy itself. If it would be a revelation of this level of Kodesh, the worlds will be completely nullified. So there is only a minute way, contracted minute revelation that comes down to be enclosed in the worlds. And what is it? This revelation is Kodesh with a Vav. Vav, in general, represents a drawdown. Like the drawdown of the intellectual faculties, you have the Vav, the 6 emotive attributes that are taking it even further down. And this is the inyan, this is the concept. that the Malachim, the angels, say 3 times Kodesh, as we said in davening, which is really written in Yeshaya. Prophet Yeshaya tells it to us. We repeat it in davening every day. Kodesh, Kodesh, Kodesh. And Gimel Bechinas Hamshach. Why do we say it 3 times? Why do we say 3 times Kodesh? We say once, it should be enough. Why 3? So it says because we're dealing with 3 different Hamshachos, 3 different drawdowns. Where are we tapping into? Where are we drawing down from? Kodesh and Bechinas Kodesh, the supernal holiness. That's where we tap into. Shenimshach begimel madregas madrega la madrega. And it's drawn down to 3 different levels. From one level to the next. After these 3 levels, where is it going to? Avay tzvokis. Lius mehave, what does that mean? Lius mehave tzivit tzvois shebolam yisrael, creating armies and battalions and troops in the upper world. Elef alofim gdudech, as we said, thousands of thousands in one troop. This is actually written in the Gemara in Chagiga, where it says, Elef alofim yisham shunei v'ribo revavon kadmu yekumun. Then the pasuk says, Ayesh mispal gdudov, is there a number to its troops, to its battalions? And it says, Elef alofim yisham shunei, the one troop is Elef alofim. But there's no number to how many troops there are. There's no number to how many troops are there. You say one troop contains 10,000, but how many troops are there of 10,000? There's no number.
7.
Okay, we'll continue, God willing, tomorrow. Welcome to you.